Welcome to the vendor presentations of the 21st Annual Northwest Interlibrary Loan Resource Sharing Conference. NWILL's land acknowledgement is read at our opening and closing sessions. To view NWILL's land acknowledgement statement, please visit our website, nwill.org, under the land acknowledgement tabs, and we will add the link into the chat. Today's date is September 8th, 2022, and this session is titled Vendor Presentations and will be presented by Krista Stark from OCLC, and from Atlas will be Sarah Jewell and Stephanie Spires. My name is Pam Kindleberger, and I am the convener for this session. This session is being recorded with permission from the presenters because they retain the right to the information they are presenting. They may choose to request removal from public viewing in the future by written request to the NWILL committee chairperson. However, at this time, it is planned that recordings will be made available once captions have been added. Attendees will be notified when recordings are available. To turn on live captionings, click on the CC link at the bottom of the screen and select Show Subtitle. If you have a question during this session, please use the Q&A function in Whova, and I will pose these questions to the presenters at the end of their presentation. When the presentation ends, please complete the post-session survey in Whova located on the conference homepage. NWILL and presenters appreciate you using your feedback. The link will be added into the chat so that you can access it. On that note, I will turn the session over to Krista from OCLC to start our presentation.
Thanks, Pam. Hi, everyone. My name is Krista Stark, and I am with the Product Management Division at OCLC. Today, I'd like to provide you with a brief product update. First of all, this is kind of what we'll be going over today in the next 20 minutes or so. So to start, I'd like to share a little bit about OCLC and our mission. OCLC is a nonprofit, global member-driven library organization that provides shared technology services, original research, and community programs so that libraries can better fuel learning, research, and innovation. Together, OCLC and OCLC member libraries believe in the mission to share the world's knowledge, and we believe that together we can do more. So together we can do more. And as I think everyone understands, no single library can hold every item that its patrons may need. By leveraging the OCLC resource sharing network, libraries can share resources, they can lend and borrow materials locally, throughout the Northwest, across the country, and around the world. To make it easier for libraries to support one another and their users, no matter what materials are requested. As a result, you're able to get to resources from thousands of libraries across the globe to meet your users' needs. Over the past year or so, you've heard us talk about our vision. We've talked about how OCLC has done extensive user research to inspire what it means for patrons and staff to get anything, anytime, anywhere. This research has guided our vision for Library on Demand, as well as our strategy for smart fulfillment. When a request comes in, smart fulfillment capabilities will immediately get it to a library that can supply it and can supply it the fastest. It's not just how many lenders you have available to your library. What matters is getting that request immediately to the supplier that can fill the request and fill it quickly. As far as your patron is concerned, your collection, your group's collection, and the collections of libraries around the world are right at their fingertips. Smart fulfillment continues to speed up resource sharing workflows, make the network even faster, and give libraries more flexibility to customize your workflows and maintain local control at your institution. You don't have to use our default settings. You can tailor the system to meet your library's preferred workflows. And all of this customization sits on top of a familiar, easy-to-use interface. Not only do smart fulfillment capabilities help your library save time and provide your users with an even better experience, but they're also helping to move items even faster through the OCLC resource sharing network. Items move faster through the network with real-time availability. Real-time availability is a form of deflection, but instead of looking at a profile, the system reviews the shelf status of the requested item. When the request to lend arrives at your library, before you even see it in Workfl, Iliad, or Tapasa, the system can query your local catalog and, based on the rules that have been set up, automatically move that request onto the next potential lender if it's an item that you're going to have to say no to. So for example, if it's an item that is in use on loan. Since January 2021, more than 250,000 requests have moved on like this, getting items to your users faster and saving you an incredible amount of time. As more libraries are set up with real-time availability, requests will move faster and faster through the network, improving efficiency all around. We've compared turnaround time statistics and found that libraries that set up automations using the Automated Request Manager, or ARM, get their items to their library users faster. As a result, copy requests are delivered twice as fast to a library when the library uses the Automated Request Manager, and loan requests are delivered on average about 2 days faster. These requests that can be scooped up by automation are processed faster and are going to be filled faster. And items move even faster through the network with the Express program. We launched the Express program back in January of 2021. It's a select group of over 1,000 libraries around the world that have the fastest turnaround times, 18 hours or less, and that are all using the WorldShare network. What's great is that not only does the Express program help you get copy requests to users on an average of 10 hours, but it lets you do that using your current ILL subscription. So there's no extra charge to be part of the Express group. You just need to continue to provide excellent service. We encourage you to get started with smart fulfillment today. You can go to the URL on here, oc.lc/sf-get-started for some instructions that will help you. Here at OCLC, we're building on more than 40 years of leadership in resource sharing and the world's largest resource sharing network. We're innovating and investing in our services to continue to better meet your library's needs. So now I'd like to talk about some of the newest enhancements that we've introduced. Building further on smart fulfillment, we continue to support and encourage the use of technical standards that allow all of your systems to work well together. We've also been working on additional automations and APIs to help you further customize your workflows. We first launched the new ISO ILL standard, ISO 18626, over a year ago. As a result, the request transfer message of this standard allows requests to flow from your local catalog, where many of your patrons are initiating their resource sharing requests, into WorldShare ILL or Tapasa. Once the request is transferred, your staff can handle the request like they would any other ILL request. We currently support this workflow for Alma, Voyager, Sierra, Polaris, and Millennium systems. If you're using one of these systems, there's a link here at the bottom, oc.lc/help, that can help you learn a little bit more about request transfer. If you've ever had the experience of receiving a huge stack of ILL items in Tapasa and also creating the circulation record for each one, you may have felt like there was a chain link fence between your applications. You can see the other side, but you constantly have to walk around the fence to get there. So in June, we added 2 more systems to Tapasa's circulation integration, Sierra and Millennium. Just like WMS and Alma libraries, Sierra and Millennium users are now able to rely on the system to create a temporary item in the circ system associated with the patron, remove that temp item from circulation upon return to ILL, check items out of circulation when they're used to fill an ILL request, and check an item back into circulation when an ILL item is returned. All of this saves staff time on keyboards and navigating between systems. We heard one library recently say that without circulation integration, they would have to hire another person to help process requests. You can set up this integration in your service configuration, and you can find information about how Tapasa circulation integration works also at oc.lc/help. Just recently, we introduced lending workflows in Automated Request Manager. Lending automations make some repetitive and sometimes difficult workflows more consistent and streamlined. Think about lending charges. In the ILL policies directory, you might have a stated charge based on the type of request or the type of material that's being requested. You may further specify lending charges based on who is requesting from you. So for example, you wouldn't charge a borrower with whom you have a reciprocal relationship. Maybe you don't charge anyone who doesn't charge you. And maybe you charge some libraries, but not others. And while you aim to do so correctly, we know from looking at our statistics and from talking with ILL staff and libraries that charges aren't always consistently applied. Sometimes it depends on who's processing those lending requests. And what about different due dates? Maybe you have a different loan period for different material formats or for different borrowing libraries. Lending automation aims to solve these problems so that you can set up rules for these situations and save time and worry because the system will apply the logic for you. Lending automation is applied when your library is assigned a new lending request. So what exactly are you able to automate through lending automation? Well, you can configure match criteria based on the details of the incoming request. All libraries that are using WorldShare, Tapasa, or Iliad will be able to use the following 3 match criteria. Who is the borrowing library that is requesting from you? You can define that based on membership in a profiled group like Elvis or the Iliad group, or based on a custom holdings group that you create and maintain. Second, what type of request is it? Is it for a copy or is it for a loan? And 3, what format is being requested? And if your library uses Tapasa and has OPAC integration enabled, you can also match on the branch or shelving location of the item being requested from you. Then, once the request is matched, you can take some actions. All libraries will be able to apply a designated lender constant data record. This is what allows you to specify the correct charge, return address, lending notes, due date, or any other restrictions you might have on the item that's being loaned out. Tapasa libraries will additionally be able to have the system automatically add a request tag to a new lending request. And you would then see those tags in your Can You Supply lending queues. We're really pretty excited about this and hope that you are too. This feature was just introduced about 3 weeks ago, and we've had great uptake on it so far. So what's coming next? We are not resting on our laurels this coming year. We've got a lot of things, exciting things in the works. So the effectiveness of your resource sharing system depends on connecting your users to a network of providers that can deliver on their needs. Most resource sharing group solutions are limited to the group members collection. With OCLC's new group solution, which is built on WorldCat, if your group members aren't able to fill a request, you can push the request out to the OCLC resource sharing network of over 10,000 libraries to help you fill that request. We're excited to offer a modern solution that builds on your existing OCLC resource sharing service, whether you use WorldShare, Tapasa, or Iliad. This consortial borrowing solution provides a great experience for your patrons with the fastest delivery, the kind of delivery that they really expect. Plus, it offers optimized functionality for library staff, helping staff spend less time on standard requests and more time on those that require extra attention. Our solution builds on your library's current ILL service, so it eliminates those lengthy and time-consuming implementations and the need for any extensive training. Plus, you can manage all of your ILL requests in one ILL system. It currently integrates with most library management systems, so your group members have more choice and flexibility with the option to grow, as you won't be defined by your ILS decision. It also supports further integration using protocols like NZIP and ISO 18626. OCLC's resource sharing for groups also provides a great patron experience. Your patrons can use any discovery service that supports sending an open URL. They'll get predictability with an estimated arrival date and fast electronic delivery. Plus, they can see all of their requests in one place. For library staff, OCLC's group solution offers optimized functionality. This includes unmediated requesting and automation, which you may already use to save staff time. Libraries in your group can set up a well-defined collection profile, ensuring that requests that come to you for fulfillment are not only on the shelf, but also part of a collection in your library that is allowed to be loaned out. So for example, you can choose whether you want to receive requests for that special genealogy collection or for reference materials at all. And to help pull it all together for your group, we provide group level analytics tools to give a view of in-group and out-of-group requesting for the administrators of your consortium. Also on deck for work this year, we're working to enhance our document delivery workflows to help libraries support controlled digital lending. These enhancements will allow library users to request digital fulfillment of a print item and provide a staff workflow for managing that loan cycle. As I mentioned, support for controlled digital lending will be tied to the document delivery workflows in Iliad and Tapasa. The library user first has to indicate that they are willing or interested in receiving a digitized copy of a work that their own institution holds, rather than a physical copy. The document delivery system will then allow staff to take a digitized copy, provide the patron with a link to that item, and using circulation interoperability, the item will be automatically checked out into the library's own local system using NCEP. Library staff will then sequester the physical item until the URL for the digital item expires. And once the link expires, staff can remove that sequestered physical item and return it to its regular shelving location. So that was a lot to speed through in just a few slides, I think. But the good news is that you don't really have to learn everything all at once. I wanted to remind you that here at OCLC, we offer all kinds of great support and training opportunities, everything from video tutorials to live instructor-led training sessions or short point-of-need video snippets. Plus, you can go into our community center, which is a great place to explore and find peer-to-peer support. You can, of course, also get support on specific issues via email or phone. All of these are included with your library subscription, whether you have WorldShare ILL, Tapasa, or Iliad. One last reminder, I want to remind you that following these product updates, we'll have roundtable discussions. Please join us. I'll be there with several other members of our resource sharing product team, and we'll be available to answer your questions about smart fulfillment, our new group solution, and controlled digital lending. So thank you for letting us speak today. We appreciate your time and attention. And next up, I believe, is Atlas Systems with an update on Iliad. Thank you. And let me.
Thank you, Krista. I'll go ahead and take over the screen now.
It's all yours. Thank you.
Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen okay and all the slides look good.
We have your presenter view there, Sarah.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know why my default always goes to presenter view. So, all right. Can you see it okay now, Stephanie?
Yeah, looks good.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. So thank you again for inviting Atlas Systems to join today. I have myself, Sarah Jewell. I'm the Access Services Program Manager, and I will be going over the majority of the slides, giving you a little bit of announcements, talking about the 9.2 features and the upcoming roadmap. And then joining me, I also have Stephanie Spire. She's the Chief Operations and Services Officer. She's going to be moderating the chat for me and answering any questions. So even if I can't see you messaging, feel free to ask your questions and she could help address it. Stephanie, did you want to say anything?
Just wanted to say hello and thank everybody for attending our session. It's nice to be here at NWILL this year.
All right, thank you. So a little announcements. Just want to let you know that on Eventbrite, and here's the short link instead of giving you the whole long link to Eventbrite, we are constantly adding new classes, events, everything. Right now, we do have the new user group posted in Eventbrite, which I will talk about in a minute. But if you click the follow button in Eventbrite, you'll get a notification anytime new classes are added. That's the best way to stay up to date on what's coming out soon. We also post when classes are coming out on social media and also in the community on occasion, but the best option would be to click follow. So I mentioned the Iliad new user group. We meet the first Tuesday of each month for about 45 minutes. We're trying to keep it short just because we know everyone has a lot going on. And a lot of times I've heard folks are getting Zoom fatigue. So we keep it short. But the idea behind these new user groups is we've heard a lot of turnover has happened as some librarians are retiring. There's a lot of new folks in the community who are just diving into ILL, and they are just starting to use Iliad. Or let's just say you have somebody who transferred from another library and they're asking you why you do things a certain way, but you've been doing it for so long a certain way, and you have your system so customized and set up. Sometimes it's hard to answer those questions as to, oh, here is the basic recommendation, and here's why you do this. Well, that's what the Iliad New User Group focuses on. It helps teach the basics. It allows the opportunity to ask those questions. And we base these sessions on what the new users in the group say that they want to do. So if you have somebody you think would be great for this, just have them sign up at Eventbrite. And we also are trying to recruit more of the seasoned librarians who have some information to offer. So if you want to do a presentation, and let's say you're really good at routing rules or something like that, please let me know. We would love to have you be a guest for a presentation sometime. Last week we had Cindy Kristoff, and she was talking about the Copyright Clearance Center, Con2 guidelines, and all of that. It was really great. Lots of good positive feedback. So now Iliad 9.2. I've talked about Iliad 9.2 a lot recently in several presentations. So if you've already heard me talk about it before, I'm sorry, but I would just want to make sure that it's covered everywhere and everyone knows what's in Iliad 9.2, just in case you missed it at any other sessions I may have done. So we have had the SAML module, which I will dive into a little bit more in a bit. We had an OCLC web service update. That includes things like new reasons for no, such as embargo. A CCC API update. It's basically the interface of the CCC has been updated with a lot of background stuff. Most of it won't look too different to you because everything's kind of back end stuff. But one of the big changes is the searches are no longer anonymous and do require passwords. You also need to have a corporate account instead of just an individual account. Those are the main things, but we have all of those criteria listed in our documentation, so I recommend checking out the release notes. Chromium Edge enhancements. What exactly this is, because I do get a lot of questions if it affects everything. We updated DocLine to use Chromium. And then several other components, such as the policies directory, will now use Chromium. Any browsers that pop out into an external window, those will use whatever the default browser is that you have set on your machine. And then add-ons, if you are having any issues with any particular add-ons and you would like to see it updated to Chromium, please contact me. We are handling those on a case-by-case basis, because there's a massive amount of add-ons. So I will dive into that a little further with the ones that we are currently updating. We had some new Iliad API endpoint improvements and a new set of DocLine scripts, because DocLine is constantly always updating things. So we are updating to make sure that you get those changes as well. So I promised I was going to talk about the SAML module and what exactly it is. So the SAML module allows you to have built-in options to authenticate with SAML providers. Some examples of SAML providers are like Shibboleth, Open Athens. We've seen a lot of Azure, Microsoft Azure. So those are different authentication providers you can connect with. What this means is you no longer need to use things like CAS or Easy Proxy. And the reason for that being such a benefit is because it allows you to bring in additional patron data. Before, a lot of these systems would only allow you to bring over the username. Now you could bring over phone number, the patron status, which, you know, knowing if a user is an undergrad or faculty helps you better understand how to process your requests. You could add all all bunch of different user attributes in order to bring over. This process for configuring the module is handled by OCLC hosting services. So if you're hosted by OCLC, contact them. If you are self-hosted and you think that the SAML module is for you, I recommend talking to your IT department, because a lot of times they may be able to use native SAML options instead of this module. The other thing is, if all the required values are being sent over from your, let's say, Open Athens, then the registration form can be completely skipped. Therefore, if a patron goes over for clicking a link in the catalog to request an item, they'll be taken straight into Iliad and they won't see the whole like login backend information being passed over. They'll just automatically be taken to the request form. A part of the SAML module is the remote auth validation table. Here are some examples: the username, email address, first name, last name. We have all of those mapped over so that way they could be brought from Open Athens or whatever your identity provider is. So how to get started? First, you have to be on Iliad 9.2. Once you are, you have to obtain your IDP metadata file. If you're using Open Athens, we have information in our documentation that tells you what your URL would look like for that. If you're using something like Microsoft Azure, I recommend contacting your IT department. Just say IDP metadata file. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. And then next, you would need to configure the remote auth validation table. We have lots of documentation on how you would configure this table, but if you do need assistance and if you want to work on the project with Atlas systems, we'd be happy to quote out that process and help you communicate with your IDP and figure out the mapping process. So once the module is in place, and let's say everything's configured, OCLC configured your module, all you have to do is change over your links, and that's it. A lot of people just have to change their link in their catalog, and it's easy peasy. If you have a dual auth, we do recommend still having a landing page for those who need to physically manually log in. Like, let's say you have Iliad auth, they still have to use credentials. But if they were to click the button for the authentication, if they're using remote auth, they'll be taken straight through. So I talked about those add-ons that we have recently updated. One of the add-ons is Google Scholar Search add-on, is now using Chromium, and it also has this button. So let's say for some reason you wanted to open it up in a separate browser, it'll use whatever the default browser is on your machine. We're also currently working on updating the WorldCat local discovery, or sorry, not the discovery, the WorldCat local search add-on, and that should be ready in the next couple weeks. All right, so looking ahead, these are some of the ideas we have on the roadmap, and they're in no particular order, and we always evaluate prior to releases because things are always changing, priorities and interests always change. So we always review what the top ideas are in user voice prior to deciding which features will be in future releases. So if you hear any ideas here, and this is what you want to see in the future of Iliad, please go to user voice and upvote these ideas. One of them is support for external OCR workflows. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the whole steps, but here is the workflow. I will download my slides and provide them to the folks who are putting all the documentation together for the NWILL conference, so that way they can post the slides as well. So basically what the OCR workflows would be doing is when you go to send an item, a PDF over, it will pull down to File Explorer, where then you could either manually run through an OCR program, or you can have add-ons that would run through OCR, and then it would push it back out to the server so that way it could deliver that PDF. Now, a new customization experience. This was actually Stephanie's idea after working with several folks during support tickets, implementations, all of that. We have found that sometimes it can just be so confusing trying to explain, you go here to do this, and then you go here, and then here, and here, all these different locations in the customization manager and the staff manager, all the settings that you need. You have routing tables, you have customization keys, and then you have add-ons and just everything everywhere, just tons of settings. So, and then you have to also bounce off the documentation to know, oh, here's what I need to set for this. So the idea is, here's what I'm talking about. So many places of everything. You have the documentation, the keys, everything. So what the idea is, and these are just a few mock-ups of what we have in mind. Being able to choose, here are my integrations. I have Rapid ILL, I have Reshare, I have CCC Get It Now. And like here you see, I have INSIP, and then being able to check which you're using. And then from there, it will give you based on what your integration selections were. You could choose if you're going to enable it, if it's going to have a rule, and basically we're combining everything together. So this table is built a lot off of the decision support pipeline, and it gives you the selecting the pipeline, be able to put your match string, all the add-on target stuff and everything in one location, which the idea behind this is trying to make it easier so you don't have to bounce all around figuring out what settings to do. And it would also make it easier for troubleshooting, not having to go back through and review everything. The other thing is renewal process enhancements, because the renewal process we've heard, there are a lot of several different ideas, and I'm not going to go through them all, but we have heard several ideas from everyone, and we kind of combine them all into a new possible workflow just for overall improvements. So per item loan delivery support. This was actually an idea that came from the pandemic because a lot of students were at home, so their address was no longer at the institution. And what was happening is they were having their address changed from the institution to home. And then also, let's say there was a student who has a default pickup location, but now they're going to be going to a different side of campus for a class one day. And they're like, oh, I'm closer to a different pickup location, allowing them the opportunity to pick up elsewhere. So this would be on a per item. Here you could see on the left screenshot, they have being able to pick the library, and on the right, they would set their address of where the item is being delivered. Native INSIP has been another one, being able to do that check in and check out both in your ILS as well as in Iliad. And then also updates to all the web reports. That has been another thing that a lot of folks have been asking for. So I am just down to 1 minute. So I just want to tell everyone we will be at Access Services in November. We are planning on having a booth there. I will also be at the Southeastern Resource Sharing Conference, but we will not be holding a booth, but we will be sponsoring. So I hope to see anyone else there in person. And all our documentation is in the support center. Also, if you have any questions for me or Stephanie, you could submit a support ticket right here and follow us on social media. thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time to hear me and talking about the future of Iliad, which I'm hope you will go and upvote any of these ideas.
Thank you, Sarah. And I would like to thank our two wonderful sponsors here today, OCLC and Atlas. Like Miriam said, there would be no discounted tickets for anybody if they didn't help us support this conference. So Stephanie, are you ready?
Oh yeah, I am just hanging out here today. Sarah did the heavy lifting there, so I don't have a presentation to
Oh.
do, but I did notice there was a question and I wasn't able to answer it in the Whova app. I don't know if I just don't have permissions or what, but one of the questions was asking about the link to get to register for the Iliad New Users Club. And if you just go to atlas-sys.eventbrite.com, you'll be able to get there. If you go to our support center, you can find it there too. And if you have any trouble getting registered, just contact us at Atlas. We'll be glad to help you out. Thanks, Pam.
Sure. So just a reminder that the roundtables are open a few minutes after we end this session. And I would like to please remind you to do the post-session survey as soon as we get done. But there was a few questions for Krista in here. The first one is, are there any full ILL ebook focused improvements happening at OCLC?
So I think one of my colleagues was on the chat and pointed them to the roundtable, I believe, and answered a bunch of questions throughout the whole chat there. I wasn't keeping track of chat.
We're okay, if they answered the questions, then I guess we'll just encourage folks to go to the roundtables. It looks like there's going to be some good topics. I know that OCLC is doing so, and it's good to just meet the people who are helping us make ILL flow. So thank you, Krista and Stephanie and Sarah.